And we are back at the Seamaster 2017 ITTF World Tour India Open, and we're about to get into the men's singles final, and it's a final that you couldn't have dreamed of, or maybe you could have, but it's reality here. We've got the King of Europe, Dimitrij versus 13-year-old Tomokazu Harimoto, a world record holder in several different records, and here they come, Neha Agarwal on the court.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the moment has arrived. The match that the entire world has been waiting for. The men's singles finals of the Seamaster 2017 ITTF World Tour India Open. Please welcome seeded number 1 in the tournament, ranked 6th in the world, 28 years of age, from Germany, Dimitrij. Let's put your hands together for the youngest junior world champion, only 13 years of age, ranked 64 in the world, seeded 14th in the tournament, from Japan, Tomokazu Harimoto. Umpires for the match, representing India, Vipin Mehra. The assistant umpire for the match, also from India, R. Krishna Kumar. All the very best to both the players. Spectators, Dimitrij will be going for his hat-trick of the titles if he wins this one. And Harimoto, if he wins this, will be also the youngest ever to win an ITTF World Tour title. Good luck.
All right, and we're back for the showdown. Can't wait for this one to happen. Just look at the pictures of these two men, if I can say that. One of them is 13, and there's no question who that is because one of them has facial hair. Dimitrij, as someone said, the Wolverine beard, is here and playing outstanding table tennis. He took the Europe Top 16 Championship, the title. Right after that, the Swiss Open. And with Dimitrij playing Marcos Freitas, he definitely had a challenge. Jun Mizutani was there as well. Freitas took care of him for him. Tomokazu Harimoto has had some work along the way here to make it to the men's singles final. Now, in case you didn't get a chance to hear Neha Agarwal before on the microphone, the world record for youngest world junior champion is standing right there. At least it's held by that 13-year-old Tomokazu Harimoto, I should say that teenager. Now there's a lot of focus on his age, of course, because 13 years old, playing in an under 21 event, playing in an under 18 event. He did take an under 21 title, and I wanted to update what I said the other day. It's actually the Japan Open where he beat Kohei Sambe in 2016. At 12 years old, won the under 21-year-old event. So, the event that he is, or the record that he's chasing rather, is held by Yu Ziyang, Chinese left-handed player that we don't see so much on the World Tour after a bit of controversy for a relatively unsportsmanlike action when he was playing Jun Mizutani in the final. Nonetheless, he took the title of the Japan Open in 2014 at 16 years old. If Tomokazu Harimoto can take this title, he will have taken a World Tour title at 13 13 years old, and when it comes to records, they're counting days, of course. He's just over 13 and a half years old.
Blue and red.
So apparently, Dimitrij OVTCHAROV said, "I've been playing since before he was born, and I'm not that old." This is true. Dimitrij OVTCHAROV, 28 years old, a young father to a beautiful baby Emma, who I believe might be showing up at the Qatar Open with Jenny OVTCHAROV, Dimitrij's Swedish table tennis playing wife and the mother to the, well, not the youngest table tennis player. As a matter of fact, I think I heard, was it Tomokazu Harimoto, whose mother was pregnant and they played the sounds? I'll check with Neha when she comes back. Either way, 28-year-old Dimitrij OVTCHAROV, the top seed in the tournament, is world rank number 5, has tons of accomplishments. You can see at the Polish Open, he was runner-up in 2016. Some other, I'd say, results here from 2016. But once again, it would be a hat trick if he wins this tournament. He has 2 back-to-back victories in tournaments. Tomokazu Harimoto, again, 13 years old. He's the 14th seed in this tournament. His world ranking dropped 5 points since the one on screen at the deadline for this tournament. He's currently world rank number 69 versus world rank number 5. Now, there's been a lot of conversation about the world rankings. I'll tell you about that in a moment. First, our official, the umpire for the match, Vipin Mehra from India. And there's our assistant umpire on screen. It is Rokam Krishnakumar, also from India. And we have some very important people from the government here. We've got, in the white kurta, it is Vijay Goel. He's the Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports. And next to him, Kiren Rijiju is the Minister of State for Home Affairs. So, very exciting stuff here to have such well-respected and involved, influential people here. Once again, if you can do anything, you know someone in your government, no matter where you are in the world, get them behind table tennis. India is investing. The government wants more of table tennis. We've got the ITTL, the Indian Table Tennis League, coming up in July, the 8th through the 30th of July. A lot of excitement for that, and a whole lot of excitement for this match coming up. Of course, chairwoman right there in red, Miss Dani, Vita Dani. And it just goes on and on, all the way to the Japanese VIPs. And a good mix of all. Sponsors alike, heads of the recent, I'd say recently moved down, but still heads of the board for Indian table tennis. Dima at the top of the screen. I'll tell you a little bit more about what I learned talking to Dima at lunch today. But here's a signature backhand serve to start off this best-of-7 match. And a strong start for Dima, the power and the placement. Look at the smiles and the thrills in the crowd. Again, so many fans for Dimitrij OVTCHAROV here in India. Around the world, for that matter. That's a powerful counterattack attempt. Just a lot of spin to deal with as the ball carries up and out. Now, yesterday we were talking about where that serve came from, that backhand signature serve and his tomahawk. It came from Dimitrij OVTCHAROV's dad, who is still his coach today. Ever since he was quite young, his dad has been coaching him, and I think I mentioned his dad was a player, but I didn't tell you how good the father was. Look at this, a confident counter down the line. Harimoto is here to play. There is no taking it easy. And there's the dad of Harimoto. It's Harimoto, rather. Sounds a lot like Yui Hamamoto, the up-and-coming Japanese woman. But Harimoto's father, Yu Harimoto, played for China when he was younger.
3-1.
Big point. You can see that Dima takes his opponent very seriously. When I talked to him the other day, a lot of questions. We did an interview about the 13-year-old, and Dima said there's a lot of focus on his age, but he's here to play. Look at his results. This is a player. I can't treat him like a 13-year-old. He's proved that he can hang with the best men in the world. And look at this, the Chiquita to the short side of the table. A step around, as strong as the serves are from Dima, and as well placed as they are still, Harimoto can steal it from over the table. Harimoto talks about his dream to take an Olympic medal, to be the Olympic gold medalist in 2020 in Tokyo. The first time players see that serve, they feel it. I mean, you can see what happens. That looked like the bottom of the net. By the time he contacts it, there's so much underspin on that ball. Later on, you'll see when he does that serve again, that tomahawk that he learned from his father. He holds the racket up at the side and the top of the ball so it looks more likely to be some topspin. Changes the angle by the time he contacts it.
2-5.
Coaching is very much allowed as of October 1st in 2016, following the Olympic Games. Between points, we saw it with Massimo Costantini and Sharif Kamal. We do get a lot of vocalization from Harimoto. Again, he's one of two players, the two most vocal players in the world, I would say. The other one you just saw take the title, Sakura Mori, also from Japan, which is sort of atypical of the Japanese players. Almost looked like an attempted chop block there, caught an indecision. Harimoto still trying to improvise a bit. The way this match started, it sort of felt like, well, maybe Harimoto's outclassed, but then he made a few big points. This is still anybody's match. Clever idea, goes for the punch shot the other way as he sees Dima in the backhand court. Dima's dad, Michael OVTCHAROV, played in the World Championships on a few occasions, played in the Soviet Union, took a national title in the Soviet Union around '83, Dima said. Oh, there it is. This time he takes the backhand. You got one of the fastest backhands in the world, and still Harimoto can anticipate and move to punch it back. See it one more time. Soft touch shot there off the top of the net. Doesn't move until the last moment. We're starting to see the quads develop in Harimoto. He's definitely stretched several inches since last year. At 12, he was quite small. Look how powerful that backhand is. Just starting to arch his back in celebration. Now, Dima's been playing quite well. As I mentioned before, 2 titles, 2 tournaments in a row. We saw his match at the World Tour Grand Finals against Fan Zhendong that could have gone either way. Would have been one of the biggest upsets in a long time, despite their world rankings being quite close. Fan Zhendong doesn't lose to foreigners. It's been a long time. Once again, it takes many players 3 times before they realize how much backspin is on this ball. I'm a little bit surprised with all the video footage out there and all the players from the Japanese Association that have played Dima, that Harimoto hasn't quickly adjusted to this serve and prepared for it. There's the 3rd time. I mean, he's sticking with it. These are big points for Dima. The 3rd time he's won an outright point with that heavy underspin tomahawk serve. First time I played with Dima, 3 times into the net. And a lot of pressure to the middle of the table, and finally Harimoto misses. From off the table, OVTCHAROV turns up the pressure and now has 5 game points. The help of his serve definitely got him this huge advantage. Have to imagine Harimoto will get more familiar with it as the match develops. Beautiful forehand flip. Looked like he was going to go the other way. Last moment, keeps the wrist loose. Saves a game point. Still 4 to go for Dima. Watch the wrist. So smooth. I feel like a lot of the Korean players in doubles execute that shot the way Harimoto did. Wow, a 4th for the tomahawk. There's no stopping right now for Dima. He's just going to keep using that tomahawk. When you realize your opponent hasn't adjusted to it, no reason to change. I mean, he has enough different serves and a strong enough 3rd ball attack that he doesn't have to depend on the serve. By the time he contacts it, I mean, that's a slow motion. You can watch that serve in slow motion time and time again. I wouldn't even be bothered to see it one more time in slow motion. It's just amazing. It looks like there's some conversation. Look at this. By the time he contacts it, it's almost a flat chop. The ball stays for a second bounce on the table. You have to wonder if Harimoto had contacted that ball, if he would have been able to lift it enough to get it out of the net. Wow. So Harimoto started playing at 2 years old, actually, sitting on a table. Now, when you hear someone say, a lot of people would say he started playing at 3, he was 2. He played his first tournament at 3 years old. When people say they started playing at 3, it's like, yeah, like Barney Reed. My dad tied a ball to a string, and you're thinking, wow, 3 years old, that's so young. He was playing an under-8 tournament, and he did quite well in the under-8 event at 3 years old. And I'm not talking 3 years, 11 months. I mean, just barely over 3. Again, VIPs from the government here, the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs. So 11-6 in game 1. I want to be very, very specific about everything happening in this match. Dima calling for a flash to be turned off from the crowd. Needs his focus and concentration, and of course his sub. Oh, top of the net, but still a risky shot, a wide angle from Harimoto. A gentleman indeed. When he's not celebrating a point, he's always playing by the proper etiquette. Even yesterday when he asked for the broken ball against Sharath Kamalachanko. Strong backhand from off the table. Dima looks him right in the face and gives it Nichole. Starting a screaming battle with Harimoto could be interesting. Harimoto in the lead here early on. A little surprised we didn't see the tomahawk serve again. Dima testing out the floor for a moment. Looks like we're going to see the tomahawk serve now. Trying to see what it is. Dima's calling for something. There seems to be some interference. People talking loud in the corner.
1, 2.
When things get tense and the crowd gets quiet, it can be quite distracting to hear that conversation from the corner of the room.
2 all.
We've even seen it where commentators' voices, I know there's a viral video of Kasumi Ishikawa. A lot of people misunderstood Ishikawa and thought that she was asking the crowd in Malaysia to be quiet. But it wasn't that at all. It was the commentators were being really loud.
2, 3.
Just to elaborate on that for a moment, Kasumi Ishikawa might have been against, it was definitely against Germany. I think it was against Patricia Solja, but Solja couldn't understand what was being said, and Ishikawa understood everything. Wow, the backhand again in a rush. Dima with very little backswing, able to generate a lot of power. 3 points in a row. He's down 2-1. Now at the towel break, up 4-2. Oh, and Neha, who's taking care of some articles, would love to hear that we figured out the towel situation. We'll keep you in suspense for a bit on Dima's towels.
5-2.
Still some underspin on it, but this time a little bit more side spin than underspin. This is a smart change. Dima mixing it up a bit. And again, side spin, but the adjustment is made and a punishment backhand receive. Harimoto within 2 once again. I believe this is the first successful receive we've seen. Decent amount of underspin on it. It's just so tough to tell with his contact how much underspin and how much side. One thing I know is that most of them have a lot of underspin. The angle once again, quick off the bounce. And this is what it takes. There's a lot of conversations speculating about will Tomokazu Harimoto be a threat to the top Chinese players. He's not there yet, but he could be on his way. It's tough to tell. We've seen some strong young players that tend to just sort of become far from mediocre, but not world number 1. Or not strong enough to beat the big 4 from China. If Harimoto can continue the way he's been improving in the last 2 years, there's definitely a chance. And And his creativity and his touch and his aggression and his bold play, he does seem to be quite fearless. There's a maturity about his game, mentally and everything else. And again, his father in Sichuan played in China at quite a high level. Both of his parents actually played for the Sichuan team. Thank you, Jorge. Ooh, beautiful shot from down low. Dima scoops it up and hooks it back over the net to take the point. It's a very difficult ball to take right off the bounce when there's that much side spin on it as well. See it one more time. Harimoto handles that almost perfectly. I mean, clearly not based on where the ball went. But he sees the topspin, he tries to play it deep to the backhand, and Dima's running away once again with the game. Again, that wrist of Dimitrij OVTCHAROV for that tomahawk serve generates so much rotation on the ball.
4-9.
Even in the push game, there it is. Serve low to the net in the Dima opening backhand. But Harimoto closes it out. Still down 4 points. Look at the touch there. Reads it just right and leaves it short on the table. Strong short game from a not very short 13-year-old. Once again, several inches in the last year of his life. Standing about the same height as many of his teammates, and even taller, I'd say, than the average of the Japanese players. This 13-year-old right here at the top of the screen. Wow! So calm and cool. He stays planted in the backhand corner, punches it back in combination once to the backhand for Dima to get him to step around. Once more, when he might cover the forehand, and then leans in and right down the forehand line.
Timeout.
And a timeout called by Dimitrij OVTCHAROV. Look at this. 3 points in a row. I think that's a wise timeout for Dima, taking it early in the match. It really depends on the individual player. Dima's without a coach in the corner, and I'm sure many of you are wondering why. This tournament was not a sponsored tournament for the German players. All the German players who came on their own accounts. So the coach was not sent with them. Dimitrij OVTCHAROV, while he can benefit from having a coach, has still played quite well on a few occasions without a coach. And after years and years of being at the top of the game, having passed by Timo Boll as the top player in Germany and the top player in Europe, has definitely gained a lot of mental experience as well. We've seen some very serious comebacks against some very difficult opponents for Dimitrij OVTCHAROV. And these are some of the skills and experiences you could see just looking at his father. Looks like he's even a bit taller, maybe the same height as his dad. But mentally and from a maturity standpoint, Harimoto showing some really impressive signs. Along the way, he beat Sharat Kamala-Chanta. He beat Asuka Sakai, who took out Vladimir Samsonov. That was not an easy match for Harimoto. Sakai was playing quite well. Who else did Harimoto beat along the way?
7-9.
Robert Gardosh, very strong player from Austria. He actually came, talk about mental toughness, he came back from down 5-10 against Robert Gardosh. So he's dangerous. Dima knows that, respects it, calls the timeout. Let's see what he comes back with. Wow.
7-10.
A push. Harimoto had the opportunity there. Would love to see that push again to see how deep it is on the table and how much rotation there is on the ball. Either way, 3 game points for Dima. Power with the forehand. So much power from Harimoto when he follows up. Recovers the net ball, stays right with it. There's the first one. A lot of racket speed from Harimoto. The physical fitness. See a lot of physical training for the young Japanese players. And of course, agility. All that stretching that Neha and I talked about earlier in the doubles. 2 game points left for Dima. Strong backhand from down low. It's a big point for Dima to bag his second game, 11-8. And he's up 2 games to 0. Harimoto's got his work cut out for him. We'll see. He's got the power, but with Dima's backhand, there's just so much spin and speed coming in. It's going to be tough to counter consistently. Just joining me now, Neha Agarwal. How you doing, Neha?
So amazed to see this men's singles finals, Adam. Dima is already leading 2 games to 0. Definitely, you know, he's inching closer to win this one of the most prestigious tournaments that India has ever conducted in the sport of table tennis. Of course, has been, you know, been made possible because of our host organizer, that's 11 Sports. And we also had a support from, you know, other players like Fortis, who was the medical partner for the India Open here. And then other sponsors, Bajaj Group, Seamaster. And of course, you know, the flooring that you see, the bright red flooring, was made possible by Stag. The owner is Vivek Kohli, very like a mentor to me.
I think I saw him in the audience. He has the mustache?
Yes.
Very memorable mustache indeed. He's presented many awards at the World Tour Grand Finals, at the ITTF Star Awards. I see him time and time again.
Yes, and he's actually working on this project called 1 million players by 2020 in India. Very kind man indeed, sitting in the stands in a pink
Third game, Dimitrij of Germany to serve.
Well, he's automatically cool then. Oh man, my dad had a jacket sort of like that. Well, sort of a pullover. It was very soft and that similar rosy color. Confidence. Dima to start off 2-0, game 3.
1 love.
And he's trying, looking for some action early on in the point to back Dima off the table. Side to side, Harimoto has been running Dima around, played a lot of wide forehands to Dima that have been effective. I think that's exactly the idea I was thinking. A little bit shorter serves, get Dima to play a short ball because he's so strong over the table. He's really unpredictable, Harimoto, with his flips on both sides. Once the ball comes off the table, the advantage is quite strong to Dima.
You know, Adam, I was talking to Indian coach Massimo Costantini about the previous match, Sharad Kamal versus Harimoto, of course. And Massimo was of the opinion that Harimoto's dad, who's also his coach, has been very, very valuable of his performance on the table. You know, he's been using the rule of the new coaching rule very wisely. He's been guiding Harimoto before every point, you know, the kind of serve he needs to do, what kind of strategy he needs to adopt.
Right.
He called it Harimoto is on autopilot mode.
Oh, just a little bit late to get back up. He makes a big shot, and Dima with an impressive block back to the middle of the table. Harimoto still chases it down. And the height that he's gained is going to help him in these long strides to come back into the table. You know, we talked about new rules for ITTF, and I started to bring up the world rankings and sort of dropped that by the wayside. I'd love to talk about that briefly. And now's a good time. Harimoto, playing in the under-21s, will gain just as many world ranking points in the under-21 event as he will winning in men's singles. Same formula, same bonus points. So we do see players like Yuto Muramatsu and some young players climbing in the world rankings by playing 2 different events at a tournament. So many of the young Japanese players, on the women's side especially, are in the top 30. Try to count how many Japanese women there are in the top 50 in the world. I wouldn't be surprised if it's double digits.
Well, I know that Sakura Mori became the 17th Japanese to win an ITTF World Tour women's singles title.
Ever?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot of Japanese women out there on the circuit winning.
So as far as world rankings, it's been very complicated in the past. There's some talk about the start of 2018, some new world rankings or a system that would encourage the top players in the world and all players to participate more, so you'll have a chance to see your favorite superstars playing on the World Tour. There's some talk about it being a little bit more like tennis, just some other things so that there's less penalty for losing, and maybe if you're Timo Boll or one of the other top players in the world, it's not as easy to sit at the top of the game with such little participation.
2-9.
So we'll see, still in discussion, but a lot of great minds at ITTF working right now to develop the sport, and a lot of great minds in India as well, as we've seen so much momentum in the sport right now. A lot of momentum on that forehand flip too. Again, Harimoto's smooth, but he's still got a long way to go down. That's down 3-9. That's only his third point this game. Some great minds indeed. Vita Dani, the chairwoman. I think that guy said Dima was his favorite player, the yawning guy in the front. Oh, back edge of the table.
9-4.
Still a ways to go. Quick apology there from Harimoto. You know, yesterday in the interview, I was thinking about how a lot of people confuse Harimoto's screaming when he wins a point for impoliteness, but he's very polite off the table and on the table when there's any controversy. Just doesn't really create much.
4-10.
This is the most dominant game yet for Dima. 10 points to 4. Well, I bring that up because I was thinking yesterday in the interview, after the match, Tomokazu Harimoto had very little voice left. Sakura Mori seemed fine, but 6 game points for Dima. And a low touch shot over the table using those long arms to get in quick. Dima, 11 points to 4 for a 3-0 victory. And again, had a few meals with him in the past few days, and he talked a bit about, we didn't talk a ton about the match, but we did talk about it a bit, and even in the interview, he takes Tomokazu Harimoto very seriously. Age aside, and this is one of those things, right? Individualism. Yes, he's 13 years old, and that will factor in certain ways. But the fact is, he's not playing like any 13-year-old the world has ever seen. Ai Fukuhara, at 13 years old, was competing with the Chinese, representing her country on the men's side of the game, at least as long as I've been following closely on the international scene. This is something that's a bit of a trailblazer and an inspiration for young kids around the world. So Harimoto taken seriously by world rank number 5, and in game 3, Dima showed his dominance out here. Just a little reminder, his goal ultimately, as I mentioned earlier on, is that he wants to be the gold medalist at the 2020 Olympic Games. That's not that long away. He'd be 17 years old, possibly still 16, but I think he'd be 17. I'll have to check the birth date on that. 17 years old to win a gold medal with players like Fan Zhendong, Ma Long. If Zhang Jike is playing at the 2020 Olympics, who knows? It'll definitely be, I'd say, it's definitely an ambitious dream. But not unreasonable. If anyone can do it, there's more promise, more potential right now in Tomokazu Harimoto than anyone we've seen. But again, these developmental years, between 13 and 17, a lot can change. In the United States, I mean, Kunakja is still one of the top 3 players. I think maybe the top player. I think he's the top rated player in the United States. And when he was 13, he came very close to a national title. This 13-year-old already on the World Tour, here in a World Tour final against Dimitrij OVTCHAROV. And the turn and look back at his coach, his dad, Yu Harimoto, the big Chole. Still, the screams seem a little bit calmer than usual. Could have something to do with the opponent, Dimitrij OVTCHAROV, whether it's a sign of respect for his status in world ranking, or simply just how good Dimitrij OVTCHAROV is as a fair sport on the table.
3-1.
Very soft touch. Looks like the ball sits up a little bit, but shallow on the table, forcing Dima to come back in. He's got a longer way to travel, catches it on its way down. Ooh, the reverse pendulum. Dima with a beautiful angle, stretching Harimoto out wide to the forehand. Attempted inside out. It seemed like Harimoto wasn't happy with the contact. Every once in a while you hit a ball that feels like it slides off the rubber a little bit. Most professionals, between being sponsored players, so they have the freedom to have top-of-the-line equipment constantly on their racket, don't look at their equipment too often. Wow, Harimoto, come on! So many bullets in the down-the-line shot. How does he get so many of these back? Really just testing, and look at that! The minister from the government, from the Ministry of Sports and Youth, was praising Tomokazu Harimoto. He was bowing with his hands. In India, of all places, building fans. Building a fan club with the VIPs here in the crowd. Harimoto. But OVTCHAROV coming right back in to tie it up at 4 points each. Now, I told you who Harimoto beat on his way here. Quite interesting, of course. Dima, the top seed, expected to beat everybody. I'll tell you who those players were that he took down along the way. Oh, the swing and the miss. After all those big shots that he gets back on the table, goes fearlessly and now calls a timeout. This is the last timeout you will see in this match because Dima used his early on. I think it was game 2 that he took the timeout. On 1 foot to go for that swatting backhand swing. Fearlessness. This is something that we attribute to a lot of young players, is fearlessness. Sometimes not understanding consequences, but that could also be quite belittling, that a lot of young people are very intelligent and understand the consequences of their actions quite well. And that fearlessness was confidence from a very talented, very skilled young player. So on this timeout, I will tell you, Dimitrij took down a legend of Saudi Arabian table tennis, Abdulaziz Al-Abad, who was a pleasure to watch at the Olympic qualification tournament, as Dimitrij clears out his nostrils for breathing absolute oxygen maximization. After that, it was João Geraldo from Portugal, one of the big 4 from Portugal on the young end, making his way up after beating Stefan Mengel of Germany. It was a very big win, 4-0 for Geraldo, but Dima beat Geraldo 4-0. And then they started to get tighter. It was a 4-3 match, a win over Yuya Oshima. Dima beating him for only his first time, despite their difference in world rankings. And after that, Koki Niwa again, a 7-gamer, 11-8 in game 7, after his 12-10 in the 7th over Oshima. And now here he is, 3-0 up over Harimoto.
6-4.
Heavy push from Dima, generating a lot of spin. Breaks the timeout of Harimoto. Right idea, the big backhand, and trying to play it fast down the line. Table just not wide enough to catch the ball for Harimoto. Once again, Dima racing ahead to a pretty convincing lead here in the 4th game. It's a man on top of his continent who's in quite solid form. Inside out forehand does not come down. It's the 2nd time we've seen Harimoto look down at his rubber with a little bit of surprise. Sometimes it's not the equipment, it's simply that the opponent hits a ball that you're not used to. Different spin. We'll see 9-5. Dima with the serve. And that nice receive right down the line, the quick response. We've seen on a few occasions Harimoto not afraid to make a quick decision at the back of the table. Backhand punch goes a little bit long. Some people might wonder why Dima's been so dominant in this match. And I would say personally that while there's a lot of power, the spin that Dima generates and also the variation in his game, of course, in game one, the serve was so challenging. Harimoto dumping 3 into the net and then having a 4th that he didn't even contact for a 3rd bounce on the table. And it's getting tight. While this game seemed quite dominant, this is a time, actually probably 2 points ago, Dima probably wished he had a timeout left. Up 8-4. And now it's just a 1-point game, 9-8. No matter how big of a Dima fan you are, unless you're Dima, Jenny, or Emma, you probably want to see this match continue. Smart placement down the line. Look at this. Harimoto has tied it up. 3rd towel break of the game. And this game is only going to be won by a matter of 2 points. So yes, serve receive I think is big. The power and spin, so there are a handful of reasons. Dima, we're looking at world number 5 versus world number 69. Beautiful shot to finish it for Dima. After all of that point, the way it went in the start, just incredible play from OVTCHAROV to overpower and hit it past. Look at this, he gets stood upright for just a moment, comes up a little bit too straight, tries to punch it back down the line. Again, fearless attempt from Harimoto, but it is championship point for Dima. Just missing the back edge. Harimoto was watching that. He had completely become a spectator for that point. Didn't even appear that he stuck out his racket. Banana flip. Dima's shot was just too good. And a delayed reaction, but a celebration from Harimoto as he gets his first deuce point in this match. Now he's got the serve as well. And despite getting the 3rd ball, it's heavy spin and Dima pumps his fist. We've seen this before where he earns championship points and his fist is in the air to the crowd and the coach. Just not closed enough as Harimoto tries to punch the ball back deep out to the backhand side. 2nd championship point. Forehand flip kill, come on! With all that pressure, baller, hashtag baller. Hashtag like a boss, hashtag this match continues. Tomokazu Harimoto, dangerous out there on 1 foot, surprises everybody, including Dima, and especially Dima with that shot to keep this match going. Oh, gets burned, takes the down the line shot. It looks like a surprise, but Dima doesn't leave too early. He waits centered on the table and uses this wingspan to exploit the open cross-court shot, and he has to reach. Just squatting and jumping, keeps the racket head up, rushes the shot, but it's clutch, earns 1 more championship point. It's his 3rd, and the dangerous tomahawk serve is back. But Harimoto once again shows us that he is not ready to roll over. He will not give up. Professional athletes to be expected. The towel mystery, don't even know if it seems like the time, but the short story is the white towel for the face and the Donic towel for the table. The crowd getting riled up here. VIPs and fans alike cannot get enough of this match. Once again, the backhand opportunity. Harimoto's had several backhand shots that he's made before in this match, but Dima's just turned it up. Once again, pressure. Harimoto came back from down 5-10 yesterday against Robert Gardosh of Austria. 1 more championship point for Dima. Pendulum serve does it. The heavy pendulum underspin serve from Dimitrij 14-12 in game 4. And while there were moments of dominance, the end of this match was definitely no domination, but a hat trick of wins the champion of Europe, top 16, the champion of Swiss Open, and now the champion of the India Open. It is a very, very great place for Dima to play as he hits the ball into the crowd. We saw fans fighting over the towel yesterday. Dima has not lost a match. Let's see what happens. A left-handed throw almost crashes into one of the staff members in excitement. I'd love to see what happened to that towel. Yesterday it was about 4 grown men and 4 kids alike. Harimoto, very honest right there, looking and thinking about what he could have done differently, but Dimitrij OVTCHAROV escapes, respecting his opponent as always. And just like any other opponent, the 13-year-old he took very seriously, as he had to in game number 4. And here's championship point. Finally, we didn't see a lot of pendulum serves. The most common serve in the game, but from Dima, quite a rare serve. And look at this, handshake, pat on the butt with the racket, as you see from well-respected baseball players quite often, and a pat on the back from Dimitrij OVTCHAROV, who you have to imagine is a bit of a role model for Tomokazu Harimoto, but also someone who is on the list of names that Tomokazu Harimoto wants to take down in his career. 11-6, 11-8, 11-4, and 14-12. Dimitrij OVTCHAROV, 2 times Indian Open champion, 2010 and 7 years later in 2017. And what we hope, and all table tennis fans alike hope, will be a yearly occurrence on the World Tour. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this tournament quite regularly for some time. Enjoy the highlights of the match for a few moments. Hoping to see one of the big points in game 4, where Harimoto ran Dimitrij OVTCHAROV all around. So much incredible action in game 4. And that was late in the match, the swatting one-footed backhand miss. He just kept turning it up despite being way down. It was 8-4 down. And there it is, the championship point to crown the king of India. Once again, he retains the crown, sitting on top of the throne. He'll be standing on top of the top podium later on today. Wouldn't be surprised if Dimitrij OVTCHAROV climbed up even more in the world rankings. Here's what happened today, the finals for women's doubles. You saw it with the Europeans, Georgina Poto, Matilda Ekholm, and then the men's doubles. It's quite exciting, the women's and the men's. And we're down on court with the champion, Dimitrij OVTCHAROV, in a very, very special place, New Delhi, India. Here's Neha Agarwal on court with Dima.
Dimitrij OVTCHAROV, winner at the India Open, hat-trick of titles, winner at the Europe Top 16, the Swiss Open, and now here, hat-trick. What does this mean to you?
Well, a lot. With this amazing crowd in the back, I felt so much support and strongness in my game, so I'm really glad that I could defend my title from 210 here in India, and I'm extremely pleased.
You just earned 1.3 billion fans that watched you playing. Also, you're the unbeaten at the India Open. India's definitely been lucky for you.
Well, there's nothing than lucky here for me in India, and I felt the pressure from so many people in my back. I got so many messages saying, Dima, this guy is 13 years old, but don't think about his age. Think about your own performance. And I just heard his age over and over again the last 24 hours. So I felt really a lot of pressure. I don't want to come into the history books to be the guy who lose against the youngest winner ever. But Harimoto is an amazing player already in his age, and I think he will have a very, very bright future.
Definitely. And what would you like to tell your fans in India?
Well, thank you so much for welcoming so warm here, and it feels really amazing to be here, and I hope we can keep up the Indian Open as one of the most traditional table tennis events in the future, and I would be glad to be back as soon as possible.
Thank you so much. Congratulations on your win and all the very best.
Thank you very much.